can you share a bit about how long have you been an iOS developer, and what are some of the achievements you managed to get with the iOS Lead Essentials program? So we give our audience an idea of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, sure, of course. So I've been working in the industry for 5 years now, almost six. With the course, I was able to get a nice income improvement while I worked in Brazil. And I also was able lately this year to move to Australia, where I'm residing now. So it was really helpful for me to achieving my goals. I was really excited and about moving to Australia and helped me a lot.
Awesome. How'd you end up in Australia? Like it's a very interesting and unique environment and country, especially from somebody coming from the other side of the globe.
Yeah, definitely. So, like 2 years ago, I had a contact from a recruiter from Australia, and I didn't knew anything about Australia before. So I decided to give it a try and started to search more about Australia, and I ended up liking a lot what I've heard. And I already had this feeling of maybe moving out from Brazil one day, but after this, I really liked the idea and set the goal to move to Australia, and then I started working on that so that I could make that possible.
Nice, very nice. I just want to congratulate you for all the things you said you managed to achieve.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a great start, because I think after 5 years, I can probably say you are at the beginning of the career rather than at the end. So it's still
Yes.
already on a great start. Um, More
Yeah,
things to
things
come.
happen very quickly for me.
Okay, so teaser for both finding out how to get a position in Australia and also see one of the most incredible countries in the world. Just stay tuned to find out more, right? And indeed, if you want to understand how Tulio managed to achieve these great things, just stay until the end, and we'll try to find some replicable steps you can do to achieve the same or similar. Okay, so just to be maybe a bit more philosophical, can you tell me what you're looking for on a longer term as an iOS developer? Is there some place or some level you wanna get to?
Yeah, sure. Currently, my goal is to become a specialist. I really want to go diving deeper into the Apple ecosystem to understand everything that goes under the roots. I'm not focusing on learning any other technologies yet. I know that's important to diversify, but currently, I'm really focused on mastering all I can, and everything is new and as things keep changing, so you can't really truly master anything. But my goal is to become a specialist and do the best I can to be.
I know that's one of the ongoing debates in, at least in the iOS community, about getting specialized with iOS development and getting more and more like many skills, valuable skills there, or as you said, looking to broader your tool belt, let's say, and adding more and more platforms, technologies, languages there. So I think Kaio used a great example in one of the conversations in our community at some point, which stuck with me. He said something about if you are injured and let's say you got your knee broken or something like that, who'd you rather operate on you, like a guy who specializes in knee surgery or just a general surgeon? And I think it's a very, very sweet analogy about what a specialist is in nowadays, like in our context where we get a lot of positions in different companies which are super niched, like they are very, very specific. So on, yeah, in some situations, maybe in startups where they have less people in the team, you could benefit from knowing multiple technologies and languages and so on. But yeah, overall I agree with you about at least first getting really good at one thing. And I started with this idea. I think it's 15 years ago with iOS, and I'm still here. So what this proves to me is two things. One, I'm not the best learner, and the other one is it's never ending. So there's just so much in this universe of iOS development that you can browse and understand and just it changes every day. So yeah,
The more complex the problem is, a more specialized person will require, right? So, and that usually comes with a nice compensation. So it's challengeable and very rewardable. Rewardable. You get a nice reward
yeah, you
when you
are right.
face more complex challenge. So
Right,
it, it's good for you both professionally and also in terms of compensation, right? Because you'll be recognized of being a specialist, and
right,
it's harder to find a
right.
specialist than someone that master more than one technology.
It definitely is. Even though some skills are transferable, some skills like we'll mention, like
Sure,
maybe test driving an implementation or just using good modular principles to architect an app. Those are transferable skills, but
definitely.
there are others which are very specific to each situation. So I want to say I really like you having this like master goal, let's say, or longer term goal, because then it's easier when you need to make, let's say, shorter term decisions. Like, is this in line with my longer term goal? For instance, you get an offer to as an Android developer, right? So, or backend. It's like you have something to work with as opposed to just bouncing from yes to no. It's like, is this in line with my longer term goal? If yes, perfect. If no, I know it's not the right thing for me. So I
Definitely.
really like this, having like a more broader list of goals as well as shorter terms ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Also,
And it's easy to keep focused, right? Because you have a clear path. You know what you want to achieve, and you just have to work on it.
right. So how'd you find out about us, about the iOS Lead Essentials program?
A friend of mine, he saw an ad on Instagram. We worked together back then, and I started looking, and then I went to the first to the introduction, right? Because we have like a first introduction to the program with success cases and everything. So I really got interested, and then I talked to some of the students that finished the program, and that made me even more interested.
Right.
So it was really helpful to see the success histories on the website because I could reach some of those guys and talk to them, and everyone had a nice feedback from the course. So I really got interested when I seen it.
Awesome. And just to paint a picture, what was your developer life like when you found the program? What were you looking for? Issues you might have had?
Yeah, sure. So back then I was a mid-level developer, and I was struggling a little with my career path because I didn't had any superior developer in the company. I didn't had any senior developer, any mentor there. So I was looking for some way to build my career, to know what I had to study because I didn't have anyone to grab me by the hand and say, let's focus on that. Let's do this, check this architecture or anything. So it was a nice time for me because I was feeling the need of finding some way to keep improving. Also, the company, they didn't have a nice testing culture, and that's something that I was really interested on learning and applying. And it's really hard to find nice content that really explains how to approach a test-driven technique, right? It's
Right.
you can't. It's hard. So I didn't even knew the concept before. So I knew about testing and I was trying to study, but I didn't even knew that there was this technique. So I really got interested on learning. It was really nice
Right.
for me.
How'd you get interested in testing? Did you notice an issue with your workflows, or you heard about it? Like how'd you started your journey there?
Yeah. Since we were a startup, we didn't have a lot of process defined. So we end up facing a lot of rework, some weekends having to work to fix bugs because
Yeah, I
the
hear
code
you.
was not stable, right?
Yeah.
So since we didn't have a testing practice, we didn't knew how to make code that was scalable, testable, and that would prevent us from having bad sleep nights, right? Because we, when I went to sleep, I didn't know what could happen on the weekend. So
Exactly.
maybe I could release some some feature that would burn the iPhone. So I didn't know. So was always surprised when I got to the weekend or Monday, because I might have some issue, some crucial issue in production, and we didn't have any way to prevent this. So it was really important to improve that, to make the projects more reliable, right?
Yeah, yeah. I so much relate to your story from back of my days. Just releasing and fingers crossed. Like,
Yes.
is this okay? Like, no idea. Just wait for it. And I remember
Yes.
every morning I got in the office. I used to check crash. I used Crashlytics back then to monitor crashes, and some mornings were not fun. Like, I didn't like
Definitely
when
not.
there was a spike in crashes. I didn't even need a coffee. Like, I would wake up instantly and just try to see what's going on. So yeah, I understand how that can burn you out. I mean, and you have to then
Definitely.
maybe come into the office sometimes, maybe late at night or in weekends, like you said. Just not feasible over time to keep doing that. So yeah,
Yes. And it's a bad feeling, right? When
yeah,
your manager comes to you and say, "Oh, you released a huge bug on the application, so some crucial part of the application is not working anymore." So it's not good for you, also, right? The feeling in that moment that you failed, right? It's not good. You want to be a good professional to deliver a good product. So when you fails, it's a bad feeling.
yeah, and especially when you worked a lot. Like, it's not the case where you were just like slacking off and didn't care. Like, you work a lot, you do overtime, and then still the app doesn't work. Like, you feel bad after you put in a lot of effort. So
Yes.
that's just
Because
that's
you're
sad.
doing the best you can and it's still not enough, right? So it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I think some of that is related to what you said earlier about not having senior engineers to look out to, or mentors. 'Cause I think, especially at one's beginning of the career, those are very important to have around people that you can pair with, you can learn from. And some days, some days you just need maybe 5 minutes of
Yes.
bouncing an idea, and it's like, am I on the right track? Yeah, and it's like, okay, I could be pushing, no problem. But having them around is very, very important. And if you don't have them, like, I mean, every company has their stuff, so you cannot change that easily. It's very hard for unexperienced developers to carry the load of like release management and just overall maintaining the code base. Like you said, having issues like that is something that most of the time happens because there are no ways
No,
to
no guidance,
prevent it.
right? Yes, and sometimes you don't even realize that you are doing things wrong. So you need someone that comes from a different perspective to tell you you can do this better. You can try a different path. Because if that's the only tool you know, you will keep to it, right? So it's important to have someone, some other people to support you so that you can know, okay, I can move, try this way, study those topics. This will help me with that and that. And you keep improving because you know it's easier to know how and when to improve, right?
Right. So I would naturally assume that this wasn't a very good time for you in the workplace. Like, it wasn't the
No, no,
best.
no, it wasn't. So yeah, after I finished the program a few months later, I ended up moving to another company where I could better apply what I've learned, because it's also important to apply, right? It's not about just studying and make home projects. You also need to apply, because otherwise you won't truly understand the concepts. So you need to apply in production. So if you don't have the means to apply it, you're almost wasting your time, right? It's important to
Right.
apply also,
Yeah.
so that you can really understand and master what you're learning.
Right. Otherwise, it's just, I call it theoretical knowledge.
Yes.
Like, it's in a box. You know how to reach it, but you know how have no idea how to put that in practice.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So, and then you joined the program. How was that like? How did you find it in the beginning?
At first, I was a little scared because there was a lot of information and I really couldn't understand everything at first. So uh, I had to watch some videos more than one time. So I decided that my approach was to watch a video, only watch, then later open a second screen and watch again and try to reproduce it, and later try again alone, so
Right.
that I could really understand. And even with this process, I had to watch some videos more times, because back then I had like 3 years of software development, so a lot of concepts, they were far away from what I knew, right? So I really had to have an open mind and keep consistent to the program, because uh, sometimes the things just don't get in your head,
Yeah.
and you have to just know also when to stop and okay, let's try again today. And that ended up working well for me. At first I really got scared, but then when I learned it, and I started to get some progress, I was really getting excited, because it was like discovering a new world, because there was a lot of things there that make a lot of sense and I didn't knew. So I was really excited about applying everywhere. So I tried to apply on my work. So I
Awesome.
I done some meetings with my colleagues, because I was leading the iOS team, my company back then. So I had some meetings and I shared what I was learning, and people were really getting excited. But the only problem I had is that I couldn't apply everything on my job, because we didn't have a lot of time for writing tests. So I had to just keep some part of the progress to do by myself. But even though for me it went really fast. So like after a few months, like 3, 4, or 5, maybe, I was able to finish. For me, I found that was really fast, because a lot of things that I didn't know. So
Right.
I really learned a lot of things about a lot of concepts, not only about architectural solutions, design patterns, best practice, but also about Xcode, iOS development, some concepts that I didn't have to apply. So it was really
Yeah.
helpful for me. It was a huge step for me.
Right. And I understand that feeling you mentioned in the beginning, maybe being a bit scared, but I think
Yes,
that's maybe gratifying, or that's the right feeling that you bought the right thing for you. Because if it's not scary, then you're probably not going to learn that much. So
definitely.
it's just in the comfort zone, maybe get a few things on your tool belt, and that's it. But when you look at first, it's a bit scary, and that's an ambitious goal, and usually it takes you far if you stick to it. So
The first thing that can happen when you face something that's too much for you, like it's a huge improvement, is that okay, I don't know anything. So you'll get a huge impact of feeling that you are not that good, right? Because there's a
yeah.
lot of things that you don't know. So I'm not good. So that you have to understand that that's pretty normal, and you don't have to be afraid of learning, because everyone has been there. So just be consistent to the study and keep practicing.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I can share is, no matter how much experience you have, you're still gonna learn from it. Uh,
Yes.
in my case, like I was doing, like I said, for many years iOS development, and when I joined as a student before being an instructor, I I got this almost the same feeling like you did. First, like, okay, I'm not that good as I thought, and then second thing, like, okay, I got to work on some new things, some new skills which I wasn't exposed to before, and yeah, so I understand. Even though I joined at a later step in my career, I kind of had the same the same
Yeah.
feelings at the beginning. But it's like you said, after you start doing and you learn some of it, you get really excited, really positive. You see feedback, you look at things differently in your workplace. You like basically you generate all this new energy, and people see that, like they can feel like, okay, maybe I need to listen to this guy because he's very excited about things. And you don't always manage to pass that information to them, because it's maybe not possible all the time. They have to go through the course to get
Yes.
everything. So it's a challenge, but nevertheless, any increment you can make to your workplace, it's very much appreciated, I'm sure. So
Yeah, you just have to be
awesome.
careful with the imposter syndrome, right? To
Yeah.
avoid keep pushing you back, because once you start seeing some results and you start seeing that you're really learning something, like you said, uh, people will notice it and you will start being recognized, and that will keep pushing you further, right? So
Yeah.
when you start feeling that you understand things, you just don't want to stop anymore. You want to keep
Yeah.
going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because even like when you finish the course, maybe that was the case for you. You are driven to learn new things, to like get in depth of some of the concepts, like learn more, look for solutions to problems you have in your workplace in more depth. Like, how can we do this? How can we adapt? Uh, I know for me, one big game changer was, and I know a lot of people talk about legacy code and legacy projects, and they kind of stay away from them. And I was in the same boat. Like, okay, if your project is legacy, then I want to run as far as possible. After going through and finishing the program, I noticed that was the biggest mentality change I had. Now I look at this project as opportunities, like how challenging it would be to turn this around. Because I mean, when you're in a bad situation, it can only get better. So
Yes.
I remember I read this in a book from I think it was a general in the U.S. Army that said he always would choose a bad platoon to lead over a good one, because the bad platoon has nowhere to go but up. So
It's also
it's a
an
very,
opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you can show your value. So it's easy when you get into a project that everything's working fine, everything's brilliant.
Yeah,
So when you're delivering that, just another person delivered full job. But when you get a legacy code and you start improving, everyone will notice the difference, right? And that's my situation currently. I'm working on a project that's it's legacy. Didn't have been touched for like 2 years.
right.
Had almost none unit tests and only UI tests, and we are improving. And we were able to move from 50% code coverage to almost 50 in a few months.
Wow,
And when you do
nice.
that, people just came to you say, "That's awesome." And
Yeah,
yeah, it's easier to work on a well-structured project. It's nice also, but it's harder for you to prove yourself, to show your value,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. And maybe it's not that challenging. So after a while, you look for these situations where it's a bit more tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
awesome.
definitely.
I also remember being in a similar situation where when we started working on the project, my colleague and myself, we joined the team, and like you said, coverage was very low, like 15, maybe 10%, something like that. And by the time we started to add more and more tests and to like decouple things and apply all the principles we learned and try to make it more modular and everything, like I just saw excitement build up in the team. So everybody wanted a piece of it. Everybody wanted to add some test. Like people writing in chat like, hey, I just with this PR I increased coverage to this, and like I was able to decouple or remove the application. Like it's just a like a snowball effect
Definitely.
thing that builds up. So it's very, very nice to see. I'm glad you're experiencing too, because at least for me that's very rewarding to be part of that.
Yeah, it's easy for you to feel that you are delivering value, right? Bringing value
Yeah,
to the table
yeah,
because you are changing things, you are improving. It's easier to see that you are contributing and improving because you are moving
yeah,
for some legacy to a better scenario. It's easy. So you feel better also.
yeah. Awesome. That's a great experience to have, I think so.
Yeah, definitely is.
Right. So you mentioned you took like a few months to finish. I think you said 4 or 5, something like that.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
around that.
And how long did it take to see some of the results to achieve some of the new positions? And we'll discuss this in a minute in more detail. But overall, how do you feel that was progressing?
Yes. Before I finished the course, I already started writing better code in my company. And I tried to present what I learned to the company and say, okay, we should move to this code styling because we can improve a lot what we deliver. So I didn't had a nice feedback then. So I saw some resistance on changing. So after like 2 or 3 months after I finished the course, I decided moving out. So I
Right.
moved around the company, and that really changed a lot of things for me because I was only working in Portuguese back then, so I was able to work for a consultancy for an American client. So it was also nice for opportunity for me to start working in English.
Yeah.
Everything was in English, so English is not my native language. I think that everyone can tell by now, but was really nice for me because it was a new challenge, right? And I
Yeah.
also was able to deliver some things that I was studying. So I worked in a project that was bigger. They had some testing culture there, so I was able to practice better what I learned. It was really easy and fast for me, the transition, because after a few months, a few weeks, uh, I I had a lot of confidence of moving to another jobs because I knew how to show people that I was worth hiring, because I had a
Nice.
lot of confidence because I could the principles that you learn that I learned, I could apply easily in any interview. So,
Yeah.
and I was really confident about that I could explain what I learned and how to apply it. So I only
Awesome.
had to stay open to other opportunities. The market was really good, so I had a lot of different job offers, and I could choose the one that better fitted for me back then.
So two things I learned here. One is definitely if your primary, like if your native language is not English, then just being able to learn basic English just to get yourself understand it is a big game changer and opens up a lot of possibilities because most of the jobs, especially like you said with US clients, there are many companies in IT from the United States, so that's a big piece of the overall pie. And if you cannot work with English in an English environment, then you're kind of just making that piece of the pie unaccessible to you. So it's
Yeah,
very
you are missing
important to,
opportunities, right?
yeah, exactly. And the better you get, it's easier for interviews to go your way.
Definitely.
Because I know some interviews are just I don't know, go bad because of the language barrier. And the other thing is super important, I think, is this thing that you went through. So I I saw you learn with the program, then try to apply at your workplace. Ended up seeing that okay, this is not a good fit. Like they don't care or they don't want. They're not interested in applying all these improvements I'm willing to make to teach them. So I think that's very good because you gave them the shot and they just didn't take it. And sometimes that's the case. Like you cannot persuade anyone to do things in a certain manner. And the natural progression after that was okay, I need to look for a different place because here I'm probably not getting able to express myself and I'm not progressing anymore. So
Yeah.
that's very important for some people because I know it's scary to switch jobs. Like sometimes it's maybe the uncertainty, like how's the new team gonna be? Am I going from bad to worse? Like there are many things that are on the table, but yeah, if you make that decision and it's the right thing to do, then yeah, just go ahead and do it. So
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
glad you did it.
Yeah, I think that there are two main things there. First, you have to think about yourself, right? Of
Right.
course, you want to help the company, to bring value, to help your colleagues. But if you're not thinking for yourself, who is going to do it, right? So
Exactly.
it's important to be a little. I don't even can call it selfish, but you
Yeah.
have to think about it, about you, because otherwise, no one else will. Second, you just if you master what you're trying to work with, if you're trying to learn, keep improving, and you really understand the concepts, what you learned, you will understand that you are bringing value to the company. So you don't have to be
Yeah.
afraid of changing jobs because you know that you are good. You know things you can help, so you can contribute. So there's a lot of demand for good professionals. So you
Right.
will be one of them that can choose where to work. So you just have to be confident. Okay, I've done the program. I'm applying things. I can apply in my job. Okay, what's next? I can change my job. I know the things. I know how to apply them. So I can show the other people that I've learned a lot of things and I can apply it.
Right.
So it's clear, right? Because other people will want to hire you, other companies.
Exactly. And there are companies who are maybe have a similar mindset to what you have at that point. So just being able to explore these opportunities is key, I think. So I understand that, just to paint a timeline picture, let's say, because I wanted to see it like that. You first had to switch jobs, the one we talked about. So you got a new position in a new company in Brazil. You mentioned that they were doing some kind of testing, so it was a natural progression to be there. Um,
Yeah.
was that the company where you also achieved a senior position, or that was a different company?
Yeah, I also achieved a senior position in the company,
Okay,
so I was hired as a senior
right.
already.
Awesome. So basically, you had to look for a new company, a new role, to be able to get that senior position advancement.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. I think that's helpful to know, um, just how to progress, because some people can get that in the same company they work with. They get a promotion, but it doesn't always happen. Like in your case, it probably couldn't happen, so you had to look for other opportunities. And then tell me a bit about the offer from Australia, like with relocation and everything. How'd you get that? Did you apply for a job? Did they look you up? How did that go?
Yeah, sure. So after the first try that I had like 2 years ago, I didn't went well on the interview. I had some vague knowledge about the concepts from the course, so when asked about it, I was able to have to really apply and give straight answers. So I failed on this interview, but then I got flipped to I just decided I wanted to move to Australia. But it was a process because I knew back then that I didn't have the knowledge to do it. So I started focusing, finishing the course, and then applying and mastering the things I learned in the course. And last year, I was more confident about it. Not only confident about it, but also my partner also decided to move because it was this mutual decision, right? I wouldn't force her to move. So when she felt comfortable about moving, I decided to apply, but
Right.
was in the middle of the pandemic. So we didn't have much opportunities because the Australia borders were
Oh,
closed
ghost.
back
Yeah.
then. And I had to find a company that would sponsor my visa, but also give me try a permission to enter to the country. So there were some cases where they would allow people to join, people
Right.
to enter the country, and because of that, I was not seeing opportunities around. So I decided to stay tuned and look to some opportunities on LinkedIn mostly. And I also started thinking about maybe trying Europe first because Europe was already hiring people and like stay 1 year there and then move to Australia. So I started to apply to some jobs also in Europe, but I eventually saw one opportunity in Australia with a sponsorship, and I said, yeah, why not? Let's try. And I tried this one and also some others on Europe, and I tried like 3 or 4 jobs on Europe, but I end up failing on them, not because I wasn't good or I didn't pass interviews, but sometimes they decide to just hire someone that was already in the continent. That was
Yeah.
easier,
Yeah.
and some of them I just didn't get any feedback, or like they found someone that was would fit better for the opportunity.
Right. Right.
I got some feedbacks like this. So it's important to understand that sometimes, even though you deliver your best and you know that you are good, sometimes not the person the company is looking for. Right?
Yeah.
And when I got declined on all those from Europe, I was starting feeling upset. I got a positive answer from Australia. That was the main goal. So uh, they sponsored me and my partner to move. Unfortunately, they were not providing reallocation, so I had to pay on my own. But since I really was really excited on moving and everything, I just decided to go, and was really fast because I I've done the interview process like 1 month, and I was approved. And 2 weeks later, my visa was already approved. It was really fast to process everything. I done every steps, like medical appointments and everything. So it was really fast. I was counting on moving like the middle of the year, like June maybe, and I moved it on February. So it was really fast.
Seems like you found the company that works in a similar way to yours, right? Fast and
Yes,
fast
definitely.
progress.
Very lucky.
Okay,
One shot
nice.
and it worked.
Yeah, we can call it luck, but I guess it's more than that. If you always wanted to move there, it's like sometimes the universe just works in our favor, and like
Yes.
you get rejected to some interviews in Europe, and you get exactly the one you need where you
Yes.
want it. So
Yeah. And you have to
awesome,
be open and go after them, right? Because
right?
if you don't, won't
Right.
come for you.
That's it. I think that's the main lesson here is interviews are hard, and I think most of the time it they have the higher probability to fail just because of so many things have to be set in line. So you have to be the best match from all the candidates they interview. It has to be worth for both parties financially. You have to be ready to move. Like there's so many things, and if just one of them doesn't click, like it it's I wouldn't call it a fail. It's just a mismatch because you're not failing.
Definitely.
Like if you need to apply to, I think I learned this by now by talking to multiple people. You need to apply to multiple jobs if you want to get like a really good one, or unless you're really lucky. But I still want to see it in the same way. So you apply to a number of roles and got the one you wanted in the end. I
Yeah.
think that's part of the process.
Yeah. And you also need to understand how to apply and be successful and apply because most of times in the past I just sent a resume and that's it. But then I learned you have to look for the company, to understand the company values,
Yeah,
write a nice cover letter, show them that you understand the company goals and you are a good match for the company, right?
right,
Because you need to sell yourself, right? You need to show I'm the person who will bring value to the company and you need to hire me. You
right.
have to tell them because they don't know you. So you have to
Exactly.
make sure that everyone understands why it's good for them hiring you, right?
Right. I'm glad you were mentioning this because those are some secrets of uh, being extraordinary in interviews, like researching that company, like trying to understand, like see if they have a blog, if they have any
Definitely.
published content, try to understand what they're trying to do. It's like you said, because they get maybe 100 candidates or maybe more, and you got to stand out. Like if they
Definitely.
just sort by I don't know numbers of years of experience, it's very hard to find the right candidate. So if you can help them, if you write a cover letter, like you said, if you
Yeah.
are clear on your intent, like say, okay, I think you're a good match because of this and that, and like it can be like maybe you're passionate about their business field, right? Say that. There's many small details that add up to that's finally getting
Definitely.
the approval. So I'm glad you mentioned some of it. Uh,
Yeah. The
Awesome.
more you try, the better you become on trying, right? At first, you fail some cases that happens, and it's pretty common to feel that you're not good enough. But you can see on a different perspective that okay, what went well and what didn't. How can I improve? There's always room for improvement, right?
Right. And just out of curiosity, do you
Sure.
think your life is different now that you live in Australia than it was in Brazil? I mean, it is in some way as you're in a different place, but other than that, do you feel like it's a big change, or how do you see that?
Yes, definitely. Because first, that I'm living in a country that uh, my main language is not speaking, right? So was a huge impact because I've never left Brazil before. So I end up being here by myself and nobody speaking Portuguese. So okay, I need to manage the situation uh, and survive here. So it was really impactful for me. And also the lifestyle is really different from Brazil. Different cultures, right? So
Right.
people have different lifestyle and something that I really like about here is that it's also a multicultural country. So here in Sydney, you can find a diversity of different peoples, restaurants, cultural places to go. So it was really nice for me. I'm really more active as a person today. Like I go out a lot more than Brazil because I like more the city and I feel more motivated to go and explore the city. And it was really nice for me. It was good because it was a really a match of what I was expecting. So it was really real everything that I was expecting. And sometimes it's hard, right? Because you can be frustrated when you expect too much of something and doesn't attain your expectations. So sometimes it's good to play safe to avoid expecting a lot of things, right?
Right. Awesome. Awesome. I think that's always a journey when you move to a new country. Like it changes so many
Definitely.
things. So I was always curious how that is like, because like you, I never moved from my country. So I even avoided a few offers from other countries just because like I'm not sure I want to do this. Like be away from my family and all. Like and of course having to adapt, like you said. I mean, even like, maybe in Sydney it's not that big of an issue, but Australia doesn't use like regular English. Like people have their own
Yeah, it's pretty different.
variant. Yeah, so it's very
Yes.
different. Like I spoke to some Australian folks here in Romania, and it wasn't easy to follow.
Yes, I struggle a lot with the different accents because not only Australian, but there are people from a lot of different countries. So in my team, for example, there are people from Iran, from India, UK, Australia, Pakistan, a lot of different countries, Argentina. So a lot of different accents, and you need to get used to a lot of them. So sometimes you just need to ask politely, "Can you please speak louder?" Because sometimes it's hard to understand everyone, and also to be clear about what you're trying to say, right? Because, like I said, it's not my native language. So it's different when you are learning on school how to speak in English because you are always taught a very formal way of speaking. And some specific situations, you will only know how to express yourself when you leave them, and you won't leave them in English in your country. So it's really different.
Right. Good. Awesome. So just looking back at the progress you made through the program, what do you think like the biggest impact was from there? Like what did it change in your developer life?
Yeah, first, opening my mind to the path that I could follow because I didn't know how to keep improving, where to find content, which content to study, because there are a lot of things that you can learn, right? Really open my mind. And the more you know, more you understand that you have a lot of to learn more, right? So it's really nice for me to understand that there's a lot of things that I know, but there's a lot of things that I still need to know. So it was a huge impact and helped me a lot to keep motivated on improving because when you're by yourself, it's really slow. And I was not very motivated back then because I had a slow
Yeah.
progress. But when you realize that you can improve fast, and you just need to just need to find the correct way of learning things. It's nice
Right.
because now I know what to do and how to improve myself. It's really nice, and also was really a change for me because I was getting a okay salary from the city I was living, but I understood that I could own my career, right? To decide where and how I will work. So
Right.
I I had the confidence of saying no to companies. Saying, okay, no, that does not match for me, and to kind of own my career, to decide which path I would try. Okay, I want to work for a US client. Okay, I can do that. Oh, I want to move to a big company. I moved to a big company after. Oh, I want to move to Australia. I moved to Australia. So really helped me getting the confidence and understanding that I can have a nice career, a nice profession, right? And
Right.
I can be happy about what I do.
Right. That's very deep. Just taking control over your career. I
Definitely.
think that's very nice when you see people like you that manage to do it. And because some people just are reactive, so they get an offer, they accept it or not. Like they stay in the same situation many years. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to achieve
Yeah.
something, like you said, your goal of becoming a specialist, and then you take control and you decide like this is the thing I want to do now. This is the thing I want to learn. Maybe I want to take a break, no problem, but it's still you're in control. You're not letting other people decide. You decide.
Definitely.
So that's
Yeah, like I said, it's easy to stay in the comfort zone, but when you start to progressing, like I had the fear of being obsolete in the market, and like if I got dismissed from my company, what I would do, I wouldn't have a job. But now I don't have this fear anymore because I know my value, and I know that even though I don't get a job that I won't be without a job. And if I need to, I can move to another technology and apply a lot of things that I learned because some concepts they are not that binded to iOS development. Right? You can apply those patterns in every language, every framework you use. So things change. Apple now uses SwiftUI, but there are a lot of concepts there that I can use in SwiftUI.
awesome. So if we can reframe this in an advice, like if other people want to just be in control of their career and do whatever they think they want to achieve, and these things change. If you look at maybe 2 years back, you were looking for a different thing than you do now, and probably the same will happen in the future. But still, you're in control. So, any advice on how to achieve that? How to have that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for me, I think that the best investment you can do is in yourself, right? So invest in yourself. You can't lose that. So when you start investing in yourself and you you are confident, there is no way that you can thrive, right? Because
Right.
you have the confidence of owning your career. So you don't have to rely on others. You have to own your career because it's yours. It's yours to take. So just take it.
Right.
just
Awesome.
just keep improving and results will come, right?
Yeah, and it's important how you improve, because sometimes you may feel like you're improving but you're not. So maybe staying true to yourself, like after every, I don't know, month or week or whatever you think necessary, like just do an analysis, like is this going how I want it to go? Because at least I remember some period where I was just reading random articles and thought I was learning, but I wasn't. So
Yes, definitely. And
it can trick you.
there's a lot. You can find a lot of content on the web that it's not helpful. That can happen. So it's important to also to try to understand what you are looking for and how can you apply, right? Because otherwise you can't just keep losing your time on things that won't help you at all.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Filter, right? Filter the content that will be helpful to you.
Exactly. Be in control of that too. So
Yeah,
not what the algorithm throws at me on YouTube or anything. It's like I choose what I want to
definitely.
expose myself to. Nice. So if anyone, like a company or a person, wants to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yeah, you can look for me on LinkedIn. My profile is Tulio Parreiras, and I'm also on the iOS Slack channel, the World Wild one. So if anyone wants to reach out, you can text me there also.
Cool. Awesome. So Tulio, thanks a lot. I think this discussion had a lot of insight, and I learned a few things from you. I tell you that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for being open and sharing your story. Keep up with the achievements, with the great things in your career. I'm sure more will follow.
Yeah, for both of us. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Really nice.
Sure. And for the people watching, if you want to learn more, just visit us at essentialdeveloper.com, and there you can find a bunch of free resources to improve your iOS dev skills. Or you can find us on the social channels like YouTube and more. Thank you, and see you soon. Can you share a bit about how long have you been an iOS developer, and what are some of the achievements you managed to get with the iOS Lead Essentials program, so we give our audience an idea of what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, sure, of course. So I've been working in the industry for 5 years now, almost six. With the course, I was able to get a nice income improvement while working in Brazil. And I also was able lately this year to move to Australia, where I'm residing now. So it was really helpful for me to achieving my goals. I was really excited and about moving to Australia and helped me a lot.
Awesome. How'd you end up in Australia? Like it's a very interesting and unique environment and country, especially from somebody coming from the other side of the globe.
Yeah, definitely. So, like 2 years ago, I had a contact from a recruiter from Australia, and I didn't knew anything about Australia before. So I decided to give it a try and started to search more about Australia, and I ended up liking a lot what I've heard. And I already had this feeling of maybe moving out from Brazil one day, but after this, I really liked the idea and set the goal to move to Australia. And then I started working on that so that I could make that possible.
Nice, very nice. I just want to congratulate you for all the things you said you managed to achieve.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a great start because I think after 5 years, I can probably say you are at the beginning of the career rather than at the end. So it's still
Yes.
already on a great start. More
Yeah,
things to
things
come.
happen very quickly for me.
Okay, so teaser for both finding out how to get a position in Australia and also see one of the most incredible countries in the world. Just stay tuned to find out more, right? And indeed, if you want to understand how Tulio managed to achieve these great things, just stay until the end, and we'll try to find some replicable steps you can do too to achieve the same or similar. Okay, so just to be maybe a bit more philosophical, can you tell me what you're looking for on a longer term as an iOS developer? Is there some place or some level you wanna get to?
Yeah, sure. Currently, my goal is to become a specialist. I really want to go diving deeper into the Apple ecosystem to understand everything that goes under the roots. I'm not focusing on learning any other technologies yet. I know that's important to diversify, but currently, I'm really focused on mastering all I can, and everything is new and things keep changing. So you can't really truly master anything. But my goal is to become a specialist and do the best I can to be.
I know that's one of the ongoing debates in at least in the iOS community about getting specialized with iOS development and getting more and more like many skills, valuable skills there, or as you said, looking to broaden your tool belt, let's say, and adding more and more platforms, technologies, languages there. So I think Kaio used a great example in one of the conversations in our community at some point, which stuck with me. He said something about if you are injured and let's say you got your knee broken or something like that, who'd you rather operate on you, like a guy who specializes in knee surgery or just a general surgeon? And I think it's a very very sweet analogy about what a specialist is in nowadays,
Yes.
like in our context where we get a lot of positions in different companies which are super niched, like they are very very specific. So on, yeah, in some situations, maybe in startups where they have less people in the team, you could benefit from knowing multiple technologies and languages and so on. But yeah, overall I agree with you about at least first getting really good at one thing. And I started with this idea. I think it's 15 years ago with iOS, and I'm still here. So what this proves to me is two things. One, I'm not the best learner, and the other one is it's never ending. So there's just